just even thinking about what are some of the benefits that we've seen in clients who are able to do it
Mm.
successfully, or even friends who can do it successfully. Matt, what have you noticed are some of the benefits of being poly versus monogamous? And neither is good nor bad. They're all
Yeah.
wonderful, but just because some people are like, it's terrible. I just like to notice
Oh
what's good
God,
about it.
it's so gross. The competition that shows up between monogamy and polyamory is disgusting, right?
Oh, so
Whenever a poly person steps in and says monogamy is bad, or whenever a monogamous person steps in and says like poly is bad, I'm like, okay, we gotta get out of my
bad.
space, right? Like there's
Yeah.
something internal that's showing up that's making you feel like you need to shut down a valid, healthy relationship structure. So
Right.
I think the biggest thing outside of those pillars that we talked about would be why open relationships, whatever poly dynamic you're in tends to be successful is because it creates what we call this feedback loop
Mm.
back into the relationship,
Mhm.
right? Esther Perel's book Mating in Captivity, which is really geared towards monogamous folk, talks a lot about how we don't have to be everything for our partner. We don't have to be their best friend. We don't have to be their number one lover. We don't have to be their number one confidant. We don't have to be their all of this stuff, right? And so when you take that message and you look at poly structures, if one partner is wanting to step and explore, right? And they're like, hey, I really feel so drawn to exploring my sexuality in this way, and I love you so much, and I want to have sex with you and explore with other people. Or hey, after 3, 4 years, I'm figuring out that like I want to step into a poly space and I want to date more people. If you can work through all of that sludge that's there and actually move into it, that individual, right, will then start feeling higher levels of happiness and
Mhm.
support and
Mhm.
understanding and safety that will then allow them to go back into the primary relationship structure. It just feeds it back in and it's creating this big loop, right?
Mhm.
Because if not, if the person feels shut down and they're in a relationship and the individual's like, nope, you can't do any of that. That's too scary for me. I don't want that. What most likely happens is then the person who wants to be open acquiesces because they love the relationship and they
Mhm.
would like, I'm going to choose this relationship, right?
Mhm.
But then resentment can build,
Mhm.
right? And that's typically what happens, which then, the more resentment that builds, the potential for a break,
Mhm.
you know, um, arises. So
Mhm.
the biggest thing is like when I always tell people, or I always ask them, what if you actually did it, right? You're
Mhm.
so scared that all this stuff is going to happen, but what if it's good?
Right.
What if it helps?
Right.
And it can. And I think that's what I see.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's what I often think about is one of the biggest benefits is that community aspect, right? We are wired for community as humans, and our culture in particular is so individualistic that people are living in all these little islands and end up their partner being their whole world, and that creates a lot of relationship dissatisfaction. Something else that Esther Perel talks about is that we need dependability, security, and
Mm,
comfort in our relationships, but we also need novelty, curiosity, and seeking, right? To
yeah.
keep things interesting and mystery. And that's the great thing about being in an open relationship is that you have so much more community around you. You have people that you
Mm,
can depend on. Your partner, if they're having a bad day and you're having a bad day, you don't have to worry about like who's going to be able to hold the other person up. It's like, okay, like, well, we've got some other folks that we can
yeah.
lean on for this. Or if we're going through a really hard time, like our partners can come and support us. Like there are beautiful
Yeah.
benefits to that. Even like in the smallest of ways, right? Sometimes I've got folks who like where one person's really kinky and the other person isn't. And it's like, well, cool, go find a kink person to play with them, then come back and have
Yep.
your enjoyable, less kinky sex together. That's fine.
Yeah.
So there are just like
Totally.
great elements of it that can just bring a lot of cohesion and like bring peace. And like you said, Matt, like bring happiness because there's not
Mm,
all this pressure
yeah.
to like have our one person be the fulfillment of all things that we need.
Yeah. This best, I don't know if there's a specific terminology or phrase that if you've heard of this or anything like that, Julie, out there, but I'm coining it like the best friend myth, right? Like
Mm.
there's this idea that your partner needs to be your best friend of all time. And it can be really challenging to hear sometimes because I think about, you know, 2 years into my relationship with Jim, he was not my best friend, right? 3 years into my relationship with Jim, he was not my best friend. 8 years now into my relationship with Jim, he's not my best friend. He is somebody that I love and that I am choosing to be with, but I have best friends,
Mhm.
right? I have
Mhm.
people who know me on a multitude of different levels,
Yeah.
right? And it's like that's the community aspect there.
Mhm.
You know, I always challenge people too, like, look at your relationship structure and look at your relationship and really internally think, can I tell my partner
Mm.
everything that's going on? Can I step into this vulnerable space
Mm.
and tell them what I'm thinking? Because that is such a hard thing to do.
Mhm.
It's so hard, and that's why our professions exist in a lot of ways, is to help
Yeah.
clients be able to like step into that, you know?
Mhm. Yeah, be able to say some hard things, but also find other people to hold that for us.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
oh, I love it.
Well,
Yeah, these are just great things to be thinking about with opening up. And
yeah.
yeah, it comes to us a lot. So it's great for people to think through the nuances.